You fool! Warren is dead. Welcome to HorrorBabble. Hello all, Ian here. Today we'll be commencing our very first Halloween special, an experimental work in more ways than one, by the name of The Halloween Experiment. If you're familiar with my short story, The Fear Experiment, then you might have an idea of what to expect with this one. The special will be presented in 6 parts. Parts 1 through 5 airing daily from Monday through Friday of this week, and the finale airing naturally on Halloween itself, Sunday. Again, we thank you all for making this possible. Patreon patrons, YouTube members, Bandcamp supporters, buyers of Audible releases, merch consumers, and those of you who listen here on YouTube. That's horror babblers of all shapes and sizes across the globe. Headphones are highly recommended. And without further ado, The Halloween Experiment by Ian Gordon.
Testing. Overseer's log, October 25th, 1976. This is Dr. Stephan Helm, beginning series of logs concerning Project Delusion. Participants A through E established in isolation cells sequentially. Participant A, the rebelled Mr. Finkel, is in the Red Room, awaiting further instructions. Finkel suffers from a number of ailments, the foremost of which is a common sleep disorder. This has resulted in a barbiturate dependency, which the subject claims has given rise to a rather unsettling delusion. Mr. Finkel, can you hear my voice?
Yeah, I can.
Describe your surroundings, please.
Red. All red. The walls, the ceiling, the floor. Christ, the carpet. It's almost identical. How did you know?
Now, Mr. Finkel. We have to weed this thing out of you, remember? It's like a pesky worm, a tiny, burrowing insect that has found its way into your body, just under the skin, writhing beneath the surface. We must peel back the flesh, extract the beast, correct?
I suppose so. But I have to say, I'm not a fan of the way you're putting it, Doctor.
Just focus on your surroundings, Mr. Finkel. Let us not dwell on the beast for the moment. How about you tell your story?
Okay. Where should I begin?
As we discussed, with your addiction, the birth of your delusion. Let's hear it.
Okay. I've had it rough these last few years. Work's been hard to come by. So, for about 9 months now, I've been living off a fortnightly government handout. It's a pittance, but better than nothing. I live in a bedsit on the outskirts of the city. It's a grubby place with inefficient electric heating and shared bathrooms. Spend most of my time, though, with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders. Freezing in summer, too. My room's north-facing, you see.
Please refrain from disclosing irrelevant details, Mr. Finkel.
Fine. Just setting the scene a bit. Well, I've had trouble sleeping, too. For the last 3 months, I've been on a prescription drug. Sleeping pill, basically, to help me get off at night. Trouble is, I can't sleep without it now. And the effects of being on it for so long have spilled over into my waking hours. I lose concentration easily. Distracted by the slightest thing. Yeah, so... just last week, I was chopping an onion in front of the telly. It was corned beef hash night, the highlight of my week, actually. I tend to prep food in front of the telly due to the fact that there's little to no counter space in the kitchen area. No room for a dining table either. Anyway, I was sat there, half chopping, half watching whatever banal crap was on the telly, when suddenly I felt a searing pain shoot through my left index finger. In a moment of lapsed concentration, I cut into my finger with a knife. In the process, I'd managed to upturn the bowl I'd set aside containing the corned beef. And within a matter of seconds, the majority of it was on the carpet. My hands, gushing finger and all, automatically set about scooping it back up, oblivious of how much worse I was making the situation. Yeah. When I finally realised what I was doing, there remained a small lump of corned beef on the carpet, topped with fresh blood. I must say that I hate that carpet. I hate the ugly floral motif, the dark areas stained by the reckless habits of former occupants, but most of all, I hate the colour, that overbearing shade of red. But beggars can't be choosers. God, how are you able to match it so closely in here?
Please, try not to get distracted, Mr. Finkel.
Okay. Well,
in a sort of daze, I scraped the last bit of corned beef up and went to the kitchenette to tend to my wounded finger. It was a fairly deep cut, but treatable at home, I felt. I smeared some antiseptic cream over it, popped a plaster on top, and returned to the couch in front of the telly. The whole thing was depressing, to be honest. I'd diced myself open and ruined my tea, well aware that my only backup option food-wise was a tin of beans. It was strange, though. I found myself transfixed by that fresh blood stain on the carpet. It held my attention for some reason. I couldn't shake the image of that toppled corned beef from my mind, all clumpy and gleaming with blood. I felt sick, in fact. And I suppose that's it, the birth of the delusion. Later that night, starving because I'd skipped the beans, I popped a couple of sleeping pills and crawled onto my put-up bed just a few feet away from the bloodstain. The bedsit's a single room and not at all roomy at that. There's just no getting away from that carpet. It's not a quiet space either. Including my place, there are 5 occupied rooms in the building. You can hear the comings and goings of people all night long. All sorts live in there. Drug dealers, burglars, the lonely and the desperate. Shrieks, thuds and heavy footsteps are almost continuous on all sides. And there's a death every 3 months. It's not unusual for the poor buggers to lie undiscovered for weeks. You can imagine what it's like for me. I often ponder a macabre notion. Am I sharing a roof with a corpse tonight? But lying there last week, my eyes glued to the bloodstain on the carpet, there were no sounds to hear. It was silent throughout, which in itself did little to ease my wandering mind. Where was everybody? Why couldn't I hear them? Eventually, the sleeping pills did their job and I fell into a deep slumber, dreaming of clumpy chunks of blood-soaked corned beef. Ugh. The following morning, I felt like shit. I was hungry and thirsty, but lacked the motivation to do anything about it. I slumped in front of the telly in an effort to distract myself from the stain at my feet. Oh, God. I managed some beans in the afternoon, but other than that, I remained on the couch in a sort of stupor till late that evening. It must have been after 8 o'clock when, returning from one of my many dreaded visits to the shared facilities, I noticed something odd on the carpet. Something unusual, right where the bloodstain was. It was a little lump, kinda like the corned beef chunk I'd been transfixed by the day before, the thing that haunted my dreams. But it was smooth and red, with the appearance of sunburned skin. I grabbed a spatula from the kitchenette and neared the thing cautiously. Was it pulsating ever so slightly? Surely not. I prodded it with the spatula and, to my horror, realised that the thing was rooted to the carpet. God, what can I compare it to? Well, just like a big lump on someone's head after being hit with something firm and heavy. Have I heard it called a goose egg? It was rock solid too. And on closer inspection, I saw that it was pulsating. With every prod, I noticed small, vein-like lines shoot across the top of it, almost as though it was clenching. Well, what to do about it? This little alien growth on the carpet? I figured I'd lost the plot, so I grabbed a tea towel and covered the thing with it. Yeah, I pulled the couch over the top of it and just sat down, bewildered. I mean, it couldn't really be there, could it? I was just hallucinating. Too many sleeping pills, anxiety, depression, stress, you name it. With pills on the brain, I popped another 2 and lay back on the couch, praying for sleep to come take me away. It was after midnight when I came to. The bedsit was dead again. The night owls were either out partying or deceased, by my reckoning. But it wasn't completely silent, at least not in my immediate surroundings. I heard a sort of scraping sound from somewhere beneath me, kind of like the scuttling of a mouse. A scratching noise that seemed to be coming from the back of the couch. I didn't dare move. I was paralysed. Fear. That's all I felt. Fear. An overwhelming dread washed over me. Never felt anything like it in my life. The scratching noise ceased and was followed by a series of scurrying sounds, as something, probably a mouse, I silently prayed, made its way out of the couch through the back of it. I pulled my knees up to my chin and closed my eyes. I was trying to focus, working against the sedatives coursing through my being. But I couldn't focus, couldn't rid myself of that horrible image, that cyst-like lump that had throbbed and pulsated, born of the numerous horrors spilled onto the threadbare carpet over the years. I could have dwelled on its nature, dwelled on how such a thing could have come into existence, but I refused to think about it. But then that monstrous scuttling invaded my senses again, and my eyes shot open, coming face to face with the thing as, with the speed of a cockroach, it crawled up my leg and hurled itself towards my face. Oh.
Can you describe the creature, Mr. Finkel?
It was just a small lump of red flesh. It moved like a snake moves. No feet, legs, arms, nothing like that. Just clumpy and glistening like the spilled corned beef. No eyes, nose or ears, but a gaping mouth belonging to a veiny protuberance. Its head, its horrible sunburned head. I slid off the couch, narrowly avoiding its snapping maw as it flew towards me, and took off running. I ran out into the street yelling, and on I went, running and yelling, till the police finally intercepted me down by the canal. Made quite the scene, I'm told. Spent 3 hours in the cells before being brought here, Mr. Helm. I've calmed down since then, of course, but I know it's out there.
And how exactly do you know that, Mr. Finkel?
Well, I felt it closing in on me at the police station. I can sense it in this room. Why did you have to put me in here, Mr. Helm? I don't like it. I really don't like it.
We must face our fears to overcome them, Mr. Finkel. Face them and move on.
But what if I'm not ready to face the... What?
Mr. Finkel?
Oh! No! How?
Mr. Finkel, what is it?
It's found me! It's found me! It's found me!
I must terminate this recording. Mr. Finkel has succumbed to his delusion. That is to say, he's dead. Experiment will continue tomorrow with participant B.
Thanks for listening today. Join us again tomorrow for part 2 of the Halloween experiment. If you enjoyed listening today, be sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting the red subscribe button below. After doing so, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button to receive new content notifications. If you'd like to support our work and receive exclusive perks, consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button below. To support us in other ways, see the video description for links to our Bandcamp and Patreon pages, our merch store over at Teespring, and further information relating to our releases on Audible, iTunes, and Spotify. And until next time,